What this husband and wife need to do to fix their marriage. My name is Paul Friedman. I founded the Marriage Foundation, and I would like to help your marriage. So as a couple, the first thing that you're going to think you need to do typically depends upon one of two things. I'm breaking it down into binary so that it's more simple for you to address your own marriage. So there are two states of marriages that compel somebody to look for help. One state is the marriage is a bit rocky. Things aren't going the way you expected, the way you hoped for, the way you know intuitively it's supposed to be, which is happiness, love-based happiness. So if it's rocky, usually what people do is they go searching on the internet, or they go to Barnes and Noble and they look through the book section, or they search for various marriage books. They may even talk to their friends. What do you think? Without divulging that the marriage is rocky. Although everyone knows if you start talking to them about marriage that you're having problems. So I'm going to give you advice right off the bat. Do not talk to your friends. Do not talk to your family members. Do not talk to your mom and dad. Do not talk to anyone. Your marriage is very, very private. The other, you might call it group of people, are those whose marriages are sliding to divorce rapidly. Maybe there's been some infidelity. Maybe there's just been experiences where the husband is starting to look at porn sites, or he's looking at other women. These are very different. And so I'm going to give you the two, what it looks like. In the first one, a rocky marriage means that you're not discussing things anymore. You're arguing all the time, it seems. You're not getting along well. You're not feeling that love. Maybe your sexual intimacy has dropped off. For sure, intimacy has dropped off. A lot of people still have a lot of sex, but without connecting. You may feel like you're walking on eggshells. What's going on here? Did I make a mistake? Usually these marriages are in the early stages. You've just been married for even a month or weeks, or maybe it's gone on for months or even a couple of years, but it's still in the early stages, but it's not delivering. Your marriage is not delivering. That's a rocky marriage. So I'm going to tell you, that's not tough. But it doesn't mean that it's easy peasy either. So here's where that problem stems from. The problem stems from not understanding that marriage is getting into something that requires ongoing maintenance. And I'm not talking about hard stuff, but for some reason in our society, people get married as if it were a destination, as if it were a ride at a theme park. Yet, you'll buy a new car, you'll get an apartment, you'll buy a house, even your clothes that you buy. Everything needs maintenance. You can't live anywhere without cleaning. And before you clean, you inspect, you have a standard. But no one does that for marriage. Isn't it crazy? So it means that your lack of understanding of marriage because you don't know what that maintenance is, has brought you to a point of decay. It would be no different than if you got a car and you never changed the oil. But the big difference is that you can start your marriage anew every single day. So it's not the end of the world. Now look, there's a lot of marriage books out there. And some of them are entertaining. But I wrote a couple of marriage books myself, and I did it because I felt that as entertaining as they were, even with the things they gave people to do, it didn't really explain marriage well enough for people to understand. Now you understand if you have a carpet on the floor, it's going to collect dust, you have to vacuum it. But you don't understand marriage well enough when you get married to know automatically what it's going to need. I used to be a divorce mediator before I became a marriage healer. We're talking about a couple of decades ago, but I saw how people just didn't understand the marriage. So the books that I wrote, and there's two of them, Lessons for Happy Marriage was the first one. It's very simple. And then Breaking the Cycle, which I used to train therapists into the system that I developed. And what they do is they really lay out marriage almost schematically, which means it's broken down into parts, the areas that you have probably failed in. I name the killers of marriage. I teach about communication. You have to have marital communication. Most people don't realize that communication within marriage is very different. I talk about you as a soul who has a body and mind, so you're a blend, but all of it has to be addressed. So I really get into the nuts and bolts of marriage, and if your marriage is rocky, it's all you need. Look, the Marriage Foundation is a nonprofit foundation, so we're not in it for the money. The counselors that we have, because you could write in for advice, for help, they're never given a bonus or any kind of incentive to lead you toward a bigger product. If you just need a book, you just need a book. In some cases, people don't even need a book. They just need a little bit of adjustment. So there you have the first category for what you need to fix your marriage, which is just a book. It's education. It's not hard. When you learn it, it's useful information. And it's so simple. And it's such common sense. And God, I wish they taught this stuff in school, because these are the things that you should be learning as a kid and growing up with. So that's what you need. That's what this couple needs if they're just having a rocky marriage. Rocky marriage, again, poor communication, people feeling, I'm not getting what I need from this. You're not feeling the love that you should. You should demand to experience love in your marriage. You got married to be happy, for goodness sake. You got married to be happy and to experience ever-increasing love. Every day it should be getting better. Every single day. That may sound like a high bar. And with common knowledge, with current quote-unquote wisdom, it's a super high bar. They talk as if it's mythological, but not the people who have read my book. They don't. Not the people who live according to the principles that I've laid out. So there's like two guiding principles that are at the very top. Okay? There's two guiding principles. You should have these principles as A, your expectation, and B, your vision, so that you know where you're going. You know, you're going to clean your room, right? You have a vision of a clean room. You do that with your kids. You have an expectation. You ought to have an expectation within your marriage that every day you're both happier and you're feeling more love. Think of your love as blooms in the soil of harmony of your marriage. There's no reason why it shouldn't be ever increasing. There's every reason why it should be. So don't go along with what everybody says. You know in your heart. And look, I throw out words like soul because it's real. That's what you are. Why play games with that? You're soulmates. It's not a religion. We're not talking about a religion here. We're talking about simple. It's a spiritual thing. Because what is spiritual? Spiritual you can't touch, but you know it's there. The most obvious spiritual thing is love. You know when love is there. You feel it, right? At your own wedding, there was this moment when you were exchanging vows, when you just felt this wave of love. Okay, try putting that in a bottle. It's not material, so it's spiritual. It's that simple. Not a big deal. Now, that's the one category. Rocky marriage, what you need to do, get one of the books that I have written and read to each other. Not to point out your mistakes, that's not going to get you anywhere, but so you could together learn individually, because you're both individuals and certain things will resonate with you more than other things, but you're both learning together. It's a very beautiful thing. And this has worked for many, many couples who are just bouncing a little. You don't need therapy. Okay, so now we get to the other category. When people are afraid their marriage is coming to an end. They feel we're sliding towards a divorce. Do you want to end our marriage? Those conversations are not unusual. They're not. Usually that question doesn't come up in as nice a tone as I just used. It's usually at the end of a fight or in the middle of one. Well, you shouldn't even be fighting, but let's talk about that another time. So in those cases, if you're in that category, don't be afraid to spend into saving it. What do you have to lose? You know, the problem that we have is that the way things are in society now is most people, and I mean vast majority of people, their first go-to when they're having tremendous marital problems, the first go-to is to find a therapist. And look, they don't know how to save marriages. I told you before I was a divorce mediator. Where do you think I got virtually all of my clients? I got them from therapists. And I look back now, and I was very successful. I was in Southern California making really good money. And I look back now at all of the clients that I had who I helped get a divorce. And I cannot think of one couple who now I couldn't save. Almost preposterously easy. In fact, after I developed my system, where did I go? I went home, you might say. I went to the support group for women. It's called Second Saturday, for women who are getting a divorce. And when it began many, many years ago, it was very necessary because women were not well taken care of in divorce courts, let me tell you. But I went in and I spoke to them about saving their marriage. And there were a lot of women who started to, at that time I only had the book, and I would meet with them and guide them back into the reality of what a marriage looks like. My philosophy is very simple. Your marriage, if it's at that point, forget about it. Now, don't forget about the love that brought you together, and really don't forget about the investment that you have in your family, but forget about trying to fix the parts of your marriage that are broken. Instead, start from scratch. And in those cases, we've got a program for that, men and women. And so that's the ideal, is that when you both do it together, they're different courses, because men need different information than women, and women need different information than men. And so when you take these courses, you're doing them individually, but together. And the first thing that you learn is amazingly simple in its concept. Look, everything that I've put together is based on principles. I already shared two with you. The principles of happiness and love, foundational to marriage. There's another very strong principle that I adhere to, and the counselors here adhere to, and that's free will. You have free will, but nobody learns how to use it. So growing up, everyone goes, hey, I have free will, you can't tell me what to do. Well, you're not properly utilizing your free will, and the proof of that is that you're not able to break or install new habits at will. Why not? Why not? Because you never learned how. First of all, we don't know anything about the mind collectively because we're fed all of this Freudian nonsense. You know, I started looking into Western psychology, and none of it really made sense to me, especially as applied to marriages. Why would you need therapy for a marriage? You need to understand how. But the big problem that people have, because when I first started working with couples, I worked with my very first couple, and I made it very simple. I said, okay, you want happiness, you want love. Let's do this together. If you say, hey, why did you do that? Is that going to produce happiness and love? No. So what I did was, I should say we did, because we did it together. We created choices, binary choices. Should you do this? Should you say that? Yes or no? And as a result, we were able to go very far. But then what happened was, the man of the couple came to me and said, Paul, this stuff is great when I remember. This stuff is great when I'm able to overrule my emotional reaction, in his case, my anger. Well, I had to study the mind, but from a different perspective, because the Freudian stuff just never made sense to me. So I broke it down, I did a schematic, and I realized the mind is a mechanical thing. It's like a computer. There's so many similarities, which totally makes sense. We created a computer to mimic the mind. So then I had to create techniques and methods to leverage our free will to accomplish what people think can't be done. Changing habits, deep-seated habits. And now we get emails all the time. Wow, have I changed? And I'm talking about after a week or 2 or 3, sometimes it takes a little longer, maybe a couple of months, usually at the most. People change themselves. They change themselves. What they're really changing is they're applying their soulful wisdom, their heart, to their mind. They're forcing their mind to comply with what they know is right. It's phenomenal. Now, if your marriage is in this other category of sliding towards divorce, this couple should take the courses. It is unbelievably effective and efficient. That being said, there are times when it will not work. But those are easily expressed. Easily expressed. And if you want to write into our counselors, it's a free service. You can find out when it doesn't work. We're totally honest. We even guarantee our courses. And I'm not talking about a 2-week guarantee. I'm talking about 90 days. Because our whole thing is to help you be successful. Why would you spend weeks and months in therapy going over what you did as a child and how your father and mother treated you when you should get right on it, healing that marriage from now? That's one of my principles. You can't fix the past. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Once that egg is broken, it's not coming back together. But we're human beings. We create our fate. We create our future. So what we do is we start changing that future today. Very effective. So that's how you do it. Those are the 2 basic categories for how to fix your marriage when you're a couple. Now, the success rate that we have is ridiculous. It's pretty close to 100%. Occasionally no, because somebody may go along with their husband and go, okay, yeah, let's try this. Meanwhile, she's in the middle of an affair that she's been in for 8 months. Okay, we can't help in that case. No one can. But in most of the situations, most of the circumstances that people have in their lives, why they're sliding to a divorce, it's a snap. Oh, I hate to say it's a snap because I'm sitting back here going, it's a snap. There's work to do, but it works, and that's what counts. Your marriage, the most important thing to bear in mind is that your marriage can and should produce unbelievable, ever-increasing happiness and love. How more simple can I state that? That needs to be your expectation. And I know it's hard. We're used to, in this world, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Well, I'll try it. I'll give it a try, we say. What have I got to lose? And in this, you have nothing to lose. But I'm telling you right now, when you learn this stuff, and it applies universally in your life changes. You start expecting good. You start recognizing that the troubles that you have in your life are blown out of proportion by your mind. I used to do this experiment. It's not an experiment. I used to use this illustration on my whiteboard. I worked with people with whiteboard. What therapist does that? I'm not a therapist. I'm here to help you get your marriage back together. And I go, okay, this board is white. And it was a very expensive whiteboard. And I would put 4 dots on it. And I go, these are the problems in your marriage. All the rest is pure, is white. But your mind focuses you on these problems. And there's a simple, reasonable explanation for that. It's because we are, until we take charge, until we utilize our free will, we are literally governed by our drive to survive, which is sourced in the body. There's a whole science to this. This is really cool stuff. Will get you to start leading your life in a positive way, expecting positive things, not waiting for the other shoe to drop, but being happy, getting rid of worry, getting rid of frustration, getting rid of anger. Those things have to go. They're not part of a happy marriage. They gotta go. Now, a therapist, I get mail from therapists all the time. You should remove this article. You should get rid of this. It's not fair to tell this to people. It is fair because it's the truth. They're not fair to people because they don't know what they're talking about. Okay, I don't want to get on a path of telling you what's wrong with going to marriage counseling. It's in other videos. It's in articles. But you could look at it now. They don't save marriages. Your marriage, and write this down, I have the right to expect happiness and ever increasing love from my marriage. And add to that, and I will find out what I need to do to get that. I'm going to leave you on that note, because what can be more poignant than that? What could be more important than that? That's it. That's everything. I do hope that this video is useful for you. I don't want you to suffer. You're in a marriage. It should be producing what? Happiness and love. It should. And you are in control. The two of you are guiding your spaceship. All right. Blessings to you, blessings to your spouse, blessings to your family. God bless. You can subscribe to my videos, to this channel. You can share this, like it. You know the drill. God bless. Take care.